Hi students, welcome back to my YouTube channel in accounts, and today I'm going to cover up topic rectification of errors in trial balance. As you can see, in brief I'll explain, like we have already done it before in my earlier videos. I have covered up in detail about trial balance and posting of entries from original books of accounts to trial balance and to final accounts, that's trading and profit and loss account and balance sheet. But here I'll just revisit what is trial balance and debit and credit column of trial balance, and then we will discuss the theory part of rectification of errors in trial balance. And in my next video, I'll cover up some practical questions where actually what are the errors which are caused, how do you rectify, what are the correction entries to be passed. So you can see a trial balance is a statement. It shows balances of total debits and credits to verify arithmetical accuracy of posting into ledger accounts. First, original books of entries are there, and then from there the balances are transferred to trial balance, and from there it goes to final accounts. So trial balance plays a very important role as we can know whether we have done arithmetical accuracy. That means my totaling of debit and credit should always match. But if the total of debit and credit matches, it is not a foolproof method saying that I have not made any errors while posting. So there can be many errors which have been occurred while transferring of the transaction from books of original entries to trial balance or while writing the amounts. So we will be covering all these things in today's class. Going to the next one. Now here you can see this is the format of trial balance which I have brought. Just to revisit quickly, all it has, this is the format: ledger folio, debit balance and credit balance. All the credit balance has a credit entry. For example, capital is a liability, land and building, plant and machinery, equipment, furniture, fixture, the cash in hand, cash at bank, debtors, bills receivable, stock. All these are assets. You are well aware about it. In balance sheet, it goes in the final account in balance sheet, and it always has a debit balance. That's why it's reflecting on the debit side. And purchases, carriage inwards, carriage outwards, these are all expenses, and it is in the trading account, right? It goes there, and these are expenses, so hence it is a debit balance. And sales written. So my trial balance is posted according to debit and credit balances of the accounts. And we know, we have done earlier, covered up in my video, which accounts are credit accounts, which are debit accounts. And proceeding forward from here, I would move to the theory part of rectification of errors. Now here, there are four major types of errors which are committed while preparing trial balance. They are error of commission, errors of omission, errors of principal, and compensating errors. I'll be telling you about these errors, and then in my next class, as I mentioned, I will be taking up the practical problems. Now, error of commission is, what is error of commission? Error of commission is when it is committed while wrong postings of transaction. So it can be like wrong postings, right? Wrong postings of transactions, or you're doing wrong totaling. The accountant has done wrong totaling of transactions, or it is wrong balancing. Or it can also happen that in the original books of accounts, one of the books of accounts, the entry is correct, whereas the corresponding entry in the other account has been posted with the wrong amount. So for example, what could have happened is, I'll give you an example here. I'll write here example, and it is, for example, cash paid to a supplier rupees 25,000. Okay, so what has happened is, when cash paid to a supplier, the correct entry, I will write here as correct entry for this should be when we are paying cash. So Debit what comes in, credit what goes out. So cash is going out, so it should be credit, and supplier should be cash paid to supplier. So you will say supplier should be debited. Supplier account debit 25,000, and to cash account, because you're paying, cash account credit 25,000. All right, but the error what has happened here, could have happened here, is this entry is passed correctly. In cash book the entry is passed correctly, but whereas in suppliers it is not passed as 25,000. This is correct, this is not 25,000. Let's say cash paid to supplier 25,000 has been recorded as 2,500 in the supplier's account. So here the entry is passed correctly, whereas in suppliers you have done, or the accountant has done, supplier's account debit 2,500 to cash. Cash entry is 25,000. The transaction would have written correctly, but while passing the entry in supplier's T account, they would have written 2,500 and not 25,000. And whereas in your cash book, he has written on the credit side as 25,000. So my cash book shows correct entry, and my supplier account is not showing correct entry. It shows only 2,500. So this is one of the type of error which can happen. This is called error of commission. All right, now going to the next one. Going to the next one is error of omission. Error of omission. Now what is error of omission? Error of omission says it may be committed at the time of recording of transactions in the books of original entry. Here, at the time of recording in the books of original entry itself, there can be two types. One is complete omission of a transaction. Complete omission of posting of a transaction. Other can be partial omission. Now complete omission is, for example, money paid to someone, or amount received, or any bank charges, anything, the whole transaction has not been recorded in any of the books, right? Partial omission, it can happen, for example, only part of the amount has been entered. For example, I will give you an example for this. Complete omission, I will take the A part first. I say, let's say, amount paid to a supplier. The same thing I can take, rupees 25,000. All right. This complete amount has not entered in cash book as well as supplier's account. So the whole thing has been missed. That means it's not affecting your cash book as well as it's not affecting your supplier account. So your trial balance will tally, but there will be a difference of 25,000 which is there. And partial omission is, for example, the same thing, amount paid to a supplier. I won't write it again. Same thing, amount paid to a supplier 25,000. Your cash book is entered. Cash book, you have made an entry of 25,000 because you have paid, but you forgot to record. You forgot to record in supplier's account, right? So in such case, what happens? Your cash book is showing correct amount, but whereas suppliers, it's not showing the correct amount. So this is error of omission. You have omitted. The accountant has omitted to pass this entry, and the accountant has omitted to pass the complete omission, pass the complete entry. Next, error of principle. There are many principles in accounts which we have learned earlier, because accounting is a scientific way of recording transaction and it is based on certain principles. So for example, here I can take error of principle, we know that there are capital expenditure and revenue expenditure. The most common type of errors which is caused is when we mix this up. We take as revenue expense as capital expenditure, as capital as revenue, and then my trial balance would tally, but the principle is wrong. For example, I will give you an example here. Machine bought for rupees 50,000. Okay. So we are buying machine. So the correct entry, what is my correct entry here? When I buy and paid cash, let's say I say and paid by check. Paid by check. So what is the correct entry I would pass? What's coming in? Machine is coming in. So it's an asset. I should have to open an asset account by name of machine. So I'll say machine account debit 50,000 to bank, because I'm paying by bank, to bank 50,000. This is my correct entry. But the error what the accountant could have made is this. In this case, the machine which we bought, he could have taken it as a journal purchases. So here the error could have been purchase account debit to bank. With what amount? 50,000. Now what will happen? Machine is a debit. Machine is what kind of balance? Machine has a debit balance, right? And purchases account also has a debit balance. So when I prepare my trial balance, both will, this is the correct entry, but when the trial balance would have been prepared, debit 50,000 would reflect here. The purchases would reflect a debit side of it. So when 50,000 is showing here, my trial balance would agree. It would total up, but there is an error of principle. So instead of taking an asset, we have taken it as a journal expenses. So it is a capital expenditure, not a journal expenditure. So this also could have, this is one of the type of errors which is made very frequently. Going to the next one is compensating errors. Now, what are compensating errors? Compensating errors are when two or more errors are committed in such a way that net effect of these errors on the debit and credit side is nil. That means the debit will compensate for the credit side and the credit side compensates for the debit side. For example, here I'll just tell you, I'll just write it in brief first. When there are two or more errors are committed in such a way that the net effect is of the entry or the error, whatever they have done, is compensated. Or you can say nullified. For example, I can say that showing the amount of purchases, actual what would have happened is you would have the actual purchase is of rupees 50,000, but the accountant has overcasted it. He has overcasted the purchases by 10,000. That means he is showing purchases more by 10,000 instead of 50,000. The actual amount of purchases written is 60,000, right? So this is the error. There is more of 10,000. So actual, when you see your trial balance, this is your trial balance, this is your debit, and this is your credit, right? So the purchases are here in the trial balance is showing 60,000, whereas it should be purchases, it should be 50. But what is the other compensating error the accountant has done? One error is this. The second error the accountant would have done is undercasting. Example, I'm just taking these examples, okay? Undercasting sales returns by 10,000, by the same amount, okay? By 10,000. So when there is, when there is sales return, it affects the debit side because sales is credit and sales return always has a debit balance. So what he has done, the sales return he has shown by less. For example, the actual sales return was for rupees 30,000, but he has written as or taken sales return as rupees 20,000. So this is a wrong amount. He has taken this 20,000 as a wrong amount, right? So what he has done further is the sales return, this is 60, and here he has written sales returns as 20,000. So what you can see here is your purchases is increased by 10,000 and your sales return has reduced by 10,000. So this increase and reduction of 10,000 has nullified the error, and that's why they are called compensating errors. All right. Now, one last topic I will take, very small. That is on the same grounds it says for rectification of errors only. One second. Yeah, here. The errors which affect trial balance and the errors which do not affect trial balance. So this is in two parts. Those four errors, some affect trial balance, some don't. So there are two types: errors that do not affect trial balance and errors that affect trial balance. Affect in the sense the totaling of it, right? So it usually that do not affect trial balance, it happens in two accounts, okay? So what happens, it either nullifies or it is compensated or it is omission, like one and the other is we can make the correct entries. It's easy to rectify. But whereas errors that affect trial balance, it affects only one account. Sometimes the accountant has made mistake only in one account. For example, cash received 25,000 from ABC. So he has written cash received, but he has forgotten to make an entry in ABC account. So that is only one account is affected. So that this is a kind of error. And here, in such case, what we do is we open a suspense account and rectify this error. This is what I wanted to introduce. We open a suspense account and rectify. It can be either debit or credit according to the error made. All right, students, with this I'll end the class today. It's rectification of errors, and in coming video I'll be doing some practical problems wherein you'll be able to solve the sums by yourself. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like and subscribe my channel. Bye-bye. See you in the next class.